How are we doing, everybody? Welcome to Russell Heritage Golf. Today we are going to be talking about the release. The release is the position in the golf swing, which is when the club starts to come in towards the downswing and we start to lose the wrist cock that we have created in the backswing position. But also the release is often spoken about in terms of the through swing. What we're going to concentrate in today's video is we're going to be concentrating solely on the initiation in towards the downswing, and then we'll do some other videos on the through swing equally. We've got some tips obviously to try and give you a better sense as to what you're supposed to be doing with the release. First thing, just to clarify exactly what's going on. What will happen in the backswing is that you're going to increase the angulation that you start from the grip. So when you hold the golf club, there'll be an angle between the shaft and the arm. Depends whether you grip it in the palm or more in the fingers, this angulation will increase or decrease. But what will happen in the backswing position is that you are going to increase what would be known as your wrist cock and that relationship, which is often referred to as lag. Now, the most powerful mechanism in the golf swing is your ability to cock and down cock, right? That's where pretty much the majority of your club head speed is coming from. So that's why it's such an important feature to get this correct. What is going to happen is that you are going to swing up and have the wrist cock, okay? So therefore, as I now initiate my downswing, the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to be a rotation. You can see as I rotate my body, right, so my hips and my torso and my shoulders, the way that because my shoulder starts to move towards the target, the way that my left arm comes down as a byproduct of that movement. What you can see in this position is that I could potentially hold onto the wrist cock, or you can see the way that by the time I get to left arm horizontal, the shaft angle is still vertically placed from a face-on perspective. Okay, so like so. Now, what will start to happen is that once we go past this point in motion, as soon as this club starts to change its angulation, so it's no longer vertical, what will happen very naturally is a centrifugal force will allow the club to go more in a straight line, hopefully timing at the point of impact where the lead arm and the shaft are both in line. So the first thing is that the down cocking side of it, which basically means the loss of angulation, will happen pretty naturally. The only thing that you need to think about is the amount of rotation of the lead arm required to be able to get the club face back to square. And I did a couple of videos recently just on the basic movements of the arm to help you get the feeling of getting the club face square, and that would very much be applicable in this video as well. So the point is that this, as long as you turn to initiate the downswing and you don't start doing things like pulling the club down to initiate it, and you allow to the point when your left arm is horizontal, that would be a free ride, if you like, for the hands, and it's just a rotational movement, then what I'm saying is that the down cocking mechanism will happen very naturally. But what won't happen potentially naturally is the amount of rotation required to be able to get the club face square. So kind of my first tip really would be very much that. It goes back to the basic golf lesson. It's kind of like at home. You would start, when you hold the club, you can see the way my watch would be angled over in this sort of angle here. Some people might grip it weaker, some people might grip it stronger. In the backswing, you'll just lift your arm up. But coming in towards the downswing, you'll need to try and get your watch face back square towards the target. So it's really the lead hand that's going to help you get that club face nice and square. The second tip to enhance this kind of release is the rotational side. It's like if you don't rotate and you pull the arms down, then it's going to upset the release and it's going to kind of infer things like an early casting sort of motion. So I'd be really cautious again of just doing this sort of exercise that I'm doing here, where just swing the golf club up to the top, support the weight if you need to, and just turn. So just turn your body to initiate the downswing. And that is something that you definitely need to feel, because if you can't get that, then the likelihood is that you are going to be prone to that sort of casting motion to initiate the downswing if you're consciously pulling your arms down potentially a little bit too soon. The other tip really is that I would try and get the club down to the bottom of the ball without the feeling of excessively using that trail hand. So I'm not a massive advocate of the idea of the trail hand becoming too manipulative coming in towards the downswing, because it will just have an adverse effect again on like a casting motion. So really this hand is just supporting your ability to come down on plane. So as I keep wherever you end up being at the top of the backswing position, this hand is just going to basically be a supporting mechanism to the shaft to help you come down onto plane. If you start to try and do anything with this hand, so to consciously try and release the club or roll it or whatever, what it's likely to do is it's likely to have a casting motion on the club. So my tips are, one, with reference to the release, understand that your lead arm is in control of the club face. So you need to be able to time this rotation to get the club face square. The second tip is to understand that the initiation to the downswing is a rotational movement and not a kind of pulling or a massive sliding motion, because it will affect, again, that release. And then my third tip is not to do anything too aggressive with this hand, because really it's just supporting your ability to be able to keep the golf club on plane. My only last thing that I'll briefly discuss, but I will come back to this in more detail in a separate video, would be based upon, like I said, that naturally the golf club will start to go to a center seeking based on this centrifugal force by the time the shaft starts to go, or by the time the lead arm gets past that horizontal position, and therefore the club is no longer vertically placed. It will start to go like as I'm demonstrating here. So the only thing that you'd need to be slightly cautious of is just obviously if you're somebody who doesn't swing the club that far back in the first place. So if you're somebody who has a pretty short golf swing, then obviously the sequence might be slightly different. So you might just need to find your timing of almost feeling like the down cocking and the rotational might be occurring at a similar sort of time. So if I swing back, and like we see with a lot of professional golfers, then you can see the way I can rotate to get to lead arm horizontal. But the point is that if you can only get here in the first place and then you start trying to do this sort of motion, then you might struggle with kind of an over the top move. So then it might be more advantageous to allow the down cocking to occur a little bit earlier, just to help you get the club face square. This is a topic that we're going to come back to, and with drills. So as long as you're mindful as to what is happening to get the release, but also therefore for those of you that are struggling to get past left arm horizontal in the backswing, there's a few tips for you as well. Work on it. Work on the drills, right? 10 minutes a day of conscious competence practice is 100% the best thing to do. I'm going to be putting more stuff on my other social media platforms, so follow those if you haven't done already. But yeah, don't underestimate the idea that you don't always have to go whacking a load of golf balls for it to be practice. You can actually talk about and do some of these mirror movements at home, give you a much stronger sense for where you need to be. Catch you with you guys again soon.